everyone, welcome back to CBSE Learners. This is me Pooja M.K. Rao. I welcome you all to my online classes where you can learn absolutely free of cost. Today's class is for my class 10 students and we have already uploaded several videos on the rise of nationalism in Europe. Okay, so this class we are going to continue. This is a continuation part of those videos. If you have not checked out those videos, we will provide the link in the description box. You can just go and check out those videos. And today in this class, we will be discussing about the age of revolution we have discussed and what led to those revolutions, the reasons we are going to learn. So without wasting further any time, let's start our class. And before I start the class, just take out your books as I prefer to give you the explanation line by line. Okay, so let's start our class. Now, the age of revolution. So we have learned that it was the age of revolution from 1830 to 1848, isn't it? Yes, and from 1830 to 1848. And what led to all these revolutions? Why these all revolutions? Why it is considered an age of revolution period? Because there were a lot of revolutions like German Revolution, Russian Revolution, after the French Revolution, isn't it? So, why this age is called as age of revolution we have read, and what factors led to the age of revolutions. Now, today we will learn about the romantic imagination and national feeling. When the romantic imagination came inside the people and the feeling of nationalism aroused inside them, so at that time that led to the revolutions. Okay, now let's see. The development of nationalism did not come about only through wars and territorial expansion. So the nationalism didn't come about only to expand the territories or to get democracy, isn't it? Culture played an important role in creating the idea of nation. Art and poetry, stories, music helped express and shape nationalist feeling. So what helped to shape nationalist feeling? Culture, poetry and art, music and stories. These all were responsible to shape nationalist feeling. So not only to expand territories or to get freedom or to get the democracy, but this culture, poetry and art, music and stories, these also shaped the nationalist feeling. Okay, let us look at Romanticism, a cultural movement which sought to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiments. So, what is Romanticism? It's a cultural movement which sought to develop a particular feeling of nationalism. So, Romanticism is what? It's a movement Let's learn what is Romanticism. Okay, Romanticism. It's a cultural movement. It's a cultural movement which sought to develop a particular nationalist feeling. Okay, so Romanticism is a cultural movement which was done to develop a particular type of nationalist feeling, the unity between the nation, the culture. Okay, so romantic artists and poets generally criticize the glorification of reason. So as they were emotional. Now Romanticism means what? Romantic people means they will believe more in emotion. They won't think logically, and they will always criticize science and reason. If you are giving reason, if you are trying to explain them, if you are trying to explain to the romantic people the reasons and logics, they won't believe that. They will criticize it. To them, emotion is the strongest feeling. Okay, so they always criticize the glorification of reason and science and focus instead on emotion intuition and mystical feelings. As I have said, they are more emotional. Their effort was to create a sense of shared collective heritage, a common cultural past as the basis of nation. So what was their effort? What was their aim? They wanted to create a sense of shared collective heritage. So they wanted to create a shared collective heritage where everyone will have contribution and the culture will be same. Okay, they want to create such a heritage. Now what they want to create? Their effort was to they wanted to create a shared sense, a shared collective heritage, a cultural common past, or you can say a common cultural past, as the basis of nation. Okay, so they wanted to create a shared collective heritage, a common cultural past as the basis of nation. Now see, other romantics such as German philosopher Johann Gottfried Herder claimed that true German culture was to be discovered among the people, the folk. It was through folk songs, folk poetry and folk dance that true spirit of nation, which means Völkisch, was popularized. So John Gottfried Herder, he was a romantic. Okay, so John or I can say John Gottfried Herder. The dates you should remember: 1744 to 1803. So he claimed that true German culture was to be discovered among the common people, which is common people is the folk. Okay, the folk. Okay, it was through folk songs. So how you can arise the common national feeling? Through folk song, folk poetry, folk dancers, true spirit of nation, Völkisch. Now what does this term mean? Völkisch, Völkisch mean? Okay, it means true spirit of nation. Okay, true spirit of nation. So how you can arise this feeling? Through folk song, through folk song, folk dance, folk poetry. So it is these all folk means what? The folk is the particular song, particular culture or particular poetry of a particular region. Okay, so through this they can arouse a nationalist feeling. Okay, that is Völkisch. Okay, was popularized. So collecting and recording these forms of folk culture was essential to project the nation building. So to project the nation building, to collect this type of folk poetry, folk songs and folk dances, it has become an important project. Okay, now let's see what is there in further. The emphasis on vernacular language. Now what is vernacular language? Vernacular language is the local language of the people who is residing over a particular area. Okay, now our vernacular language will be where we stay. Okay, our Indian cultural vernacular language will be Hindi, or if the state's language. Okay, the vernacular language is that, and the oriental language is something which is coming from outside to accumulate any other language. Okay, so the emphasis on vernacular language and the collection of local folklore was not just to recover an ancient national spirit, but also to carry the modern nationalist message to large audiences who were mostly illiterate. So, what was their motto? Their motto is not only the emphasis on vernacular language and the collection of local folklore was their intention was not to just discover, reinvent the nationalist feeling, but to carry this feeling to so many people of their country or their states where mostly the people are illiterate. Okay, this was especially so in case of Poland, which has been partitioned at the end of 18th century by the great powers Russia, Prussia and Austria. So Poland was partitioned at the end of 18th century. When it was partitioned at the end of 18th century, by whom? By the great powers Russia, Austria and Prussia. So what are the great powers? Russia, Prussia, Austria. Even though Poland no longer existed as an independent territory, but nationalist feeling were kept alive through music and language. Though after the separation it didn't exist as an independent territory, but nationalist feeling were kept alive through the folk music and folk songs. Okay, language. Karol Karpinski, for example, celebrated the national struggle through his operas and music. So, how he celebrated? Through operas, through songs, through bands, through operas and music, turning folk dances like the Polonaise and mazurka in nationalist symbol. So they turned the folk dances into Polonaise and mazurka to create the nationalist feeling, okay, as a nationalist symbols. Language too played an important role in developing nationalist sentiments. Now the question can come, how language acted or how it contributed to develop the nationalist sentiments. Now we will read, after Russian occupation, the Polish language was forced out of schools and Russian language was imposed. So we have learned that the Poland was divided and at the end of the 18th century by the great powers Russia, Austria, Prussia. So after they invaded the country, what happened? The Poland language were dismissed and instead they used the Russian language in the schools as the Russian group took place. But in 1831, an armed rebellion against Russian rule took place, which was ultimately crushed. Following this, many members of clergy in Poland began to use language as a weapon of national resistance. So in 1831, what happened? One rebel, they raised against the Russia. Okay, one war they raised against Russia. When? In 1831. Why? Because after the dividing of the Poland, they just banned the Polish language in schools and colleges. Okay, so in 1831, a rebel was held against Russian rule. Okay, but it was dismissed, it was diminished. Okay, but why? Then what they have done, they have used the language as a national resistance. Okay, Polish was used for church gathering and also religious instruction. So they have started to use the Polish language for church gathering and to instruct the religious sentiments in the people. As a result, a large number of priests and bishops were put in jail or sent to Siberia. As they have done that, as they have started instructing the religious sentiments and they have started to use Polish in the church gatherings, what the priests had been punished, they were punished and were sent to jail. Okay, as to Siberia, where they were sent to Siberia by the Russian authorities as punishment for refusal to preach in Russian. Why they were sent? As a punishment to refuse Russian language for preaching in church. The use of Polish came to be seen as a symbol of struggle against Russian dominance. So what you can see, the use of Polish came to be seen. The use of Polish represents the revolt against Russian dominance. Okay, the use of Polish language is a symbol used to represent struggle against Russian dominance. Okay, Russian dominance. So you have understood what is the romantic feeling and how it led to revolutions. So it is not only related to the nationalist or to democracy or to gain the democracy back or to arise nationalism. It is very important. Why? Because it led to their own cultural, it was to restore their own cultural heritage. Okay, so the romantic and the national feeling is clear to you, I think so. Next comes the hunger, hardship and popular revolt. In the age of revolution, there were several revolts. First one, we have learned this one. This is because of they are losing their own cultural language and heritage and culture. So they started revolting. Okay. Now second one comes because of hunger, because of hardship, they revolted. Now in 1830 were year of great economic hardship in Europe. In 1830 there were lot of economical problems. Economic hardship is economic or financial problem. The first half of 19th century saw an enormous increase in population all over Europe. In most countries, there were more seekers of job than employment. So, what happened at that time? There were more job seekers rather than employment. There were no employment, but people, they wanted more job. So, what was the result? Automatically, people will start. They won't get proper food, and there was no jobs, isn't it? Population from rural areas emigrated to cities to live in overcrowded slums. So, from the rural areas, they came to cities for work. And what happened? They didn't get work. So, what was the result? They overcrowded in slums. In slums means small places where all people will live. Okay. So, small producers in towns were often faced with stiff competition from imports of cheap machine-made goods from England, where industrialization was more advanced than on the continent. This was specifically in textile production, which was carried out mainly in homes or small workshops, was only partially mechanized. At that time, what happened? Only the England was having good advanced industrialization, but rest of the Europe were not having that much industrialization prevailed over there. Okay. Peasants in those regions of Europe where the aristocracy still enjoyed power, peasants struggled under the burden of feudal dues and obligations. So, in some parts of the Europe where there were still aristocratic class, rich class, the peasants, the normal local workers, they were struggling with the taxes, the feudal taxes and obligations. Obligations, there were a lot of restrictions. So, they cannot do what they want. So, they were struggling a lot like before. The rise of food prices or a year of bad harvest led to widespread pauperism in town and country. So, on the other hand, the price of food were increasing. Everything was increasing except the income of the normal peasant people or the normal local people. Their income were not increasing, but the price of the food, grains, everything was rising high. The year 1848 was one such year. Food shortages and widespread unemployment brought the population of Paris out on the roads. So in 1848, what happened? In the 1848, because of food shortage, the people of Paris, they came on the road to struggle, to fight. Okay, 1848. Okay, people of Paris, because of shortage of food came on the roads to protest. Okay, let's see what happened. Barricades were erected and Louis Philippe was forced to flee. So they protested and Louis Philippe was forced to flee from there as there was no shortage of food, there was no food and people were mad on the Louis Philippe. Okay. National Assembly proclaimed a republic, granted suffrage to all adult males above 21, guaranteed the right to work. Okay. So what happened? What that National Assembly they done? They granted suffrage. Suffrage means right to vote to all adult males, only males who were above 21. So as a result of this, what they done? They done they created one grant. That grant that allotted that every adult who is over 21 years, they can vote. They are having the right to vote. They are were allotted suffrage, not universal. That is only suffrage. In my previous video, I have explained you what is the difference between suffrage and universal suffrage. Universal suffrage is where there is no difference. Okay, anyone, any adult person, whether it is male, female, or of any caste and creed, can vote. But suffrage is only right to vote. And here the suffrage, the right to vote, were given only to the male adults who were more than 21 years old. And along with that suffrage, they given the right to work. Okay, national workshops to provide employment were set up. So what they done? They done national employments to give work. Okay, now this, as a result, what happened? They granted this, as a result of this revolt, what happened? They granted suffrage to adult males who were above 21 years old and right to work. Number 2 is national workshops to provide job. Okay, national workshops to provide employment were set up. Okay, so this is the result of the 1848 when people of Paris, they revolted. Okay, now let's see what happens. Earlier in 1848, weavers in Silesia had led a revolt against contractors. So earlier in 1845, weavers in Silesia. Who are the weavers? Weavers are the people who weaves cloths, isn't it? So earlier in Silesia, a place, weavers, they led a revolt against contractors who supplied them raw material and gave them orders for finished textile and drastically reduced their payments. So what they done? The contractors who supplied them raw materials. Now what happened? The weavers in Silesia had led to revolt against contractors who supplied them raw materials and gave them orders for finished textile but drastically reduced their payments. So the contractors, they decreased the payments of the weavers. Okay, the journalist Wilhelm Wolff described the event in a Silesian village as follows. So this movement of 1845 is known as Silesian uprising, weavers uprising. Okay, so you can call the event as a Silesian weaver uprising. So journalist Wilhelm Wolff, he described the event in a Silesian village as follows. In this village with 18,000 inhabitants, cotton weaving is the most widespread occupation. The misery of the worker is extreme. The desperate need for jobs has been taken advantage of by the contractors to reduce the prices of the goods they order. So the journalist, how he has described that in a village there were 18,000 people and the desperate need of job of the villagers it has caused the decreased payment of them. Why? Because the contractors, they started taking advantage of the villagers because they were not having any jobs. Okay, so as a result of this, they were having lots of struggle in their life. They were having shortage of food and shortage of income. So they decided to start an uprising which is known as Silesian Weavers Uprising in 1845. Okay. Now this event exactly happened on 4th June 2 p.m. Okay. A large crowd of weavers emerged from their home and marched in pairs up to the mansion of the contractor demanding higher wage. And what they done? They directly marched to the mansion or the home of that contractor and demanded higher wage. They were treated with scorn and threats alternatively. Following this, a group of them forced their way into the house, smashed its elegant window panes, furniture, porcelain, Another group broke into the storehouse and plundered it of supplies of cloth, which they tore to shreds. So when they didn't listen, first they threatened them, they warned them, but when they didn't listen, what they done? They just gone and they broke the porcelain, the windows, and all of them. They stole the cloths and they plundered. Means they stole with force. They stole the cloths and the supplies of the material which were there, and they torn them into pieces and thrown them. The contractor fled with his family to a neighboring village, which however refused to shelter such a person. But he fled to the nearby village, but that villagers also, they refused to give shelter to that type of person. Means that type of not good person. He was not a good person, isn't it? He was just taking advantage of the poor villagers. So the neighboring villagers also, they didn't give any shelter to that person. He returned after 24 hours, requisitioned the army. So he came later with the help of army. In the exchange that followed, 11 weavers were shot. In exchange, 11 weavers were shot, okay, by the army. Okay, so these are all the 2 points. First one I have taught you today is the romanticism, the arise of the feeling of romanticism which led into revolutions, and this is the hunger, hardship of the poor people which caused revolutions. Okay, so these are the 2 points which caused revolution. In my next video I will give the revolution of the liberals, okay, of 1848. What is the reason why the liberals, they revolted, and what was the reason. Okay, so I hope this video is useful to you and you like this video. If you like this video, just hit the like button, okay, and just subscribe to our channel, because I have seen most of you are not subscribing, just going and watching and going without subscription. So just subscribe it so that we can bring more useful videos for you, and thanks for staying tuned with us and watching our video.